1040 WHO.
Show your family what Midwest cooking is all about. Take them to the Iowa Machine Shed, I-80, Des Moines.
From the Hy-Vee Studios, News Radio 1040 WHO. Views expressed are those of the host, guests, and callers, not necessarily those of News Radio 1040 WHO. One of the proudest citizens of the United States ever. I love this American ride. Simon Conway. On Des Moines News Radio, 1040 WHO.
With no apologies whatsoever to the atheists of Iowa, we are indeed one nation under God. The Simon Conway Show here on News Radio 1040 WHO, and I'm very pleased to tell you that sat right next to me is the governor of the great state of Iowa, Governor Terry Branstad. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Simon. Great to be with you again.
Good to have you back. Let me ask you a nice, easy one first. About a week and a half ago, I called Tim, who told me I was very, very observant, your communications chief, and I said, "What's happened to the flag on the mansion?" And he told me what's happened to the flag on the mansion, that it was just pretty much ripped up in the storms.
Right.
And here we are a week and a half later, and there's no flag.
Well, we're still working on repairs. It was not only the flag, it was also the pole.
Ah.
So it had been there for a long time. It's been badly damaged.
Okay.
And they're in the process of replacing it.
Excellent. Okay, because, I look for that on my drive-in every morning.
Well, I'm glad you're so observant. And, yeah, that was a tragic storm that we had.
Yeah.
And as a result, there's substantial work to be done on the entire flagpole, not just the flag.
Okay. Well, yeah, Tim was very impressed at my powers of observation, I can tell you that. So so that's good. So that's the easy one out of the way. Governor, you gave a press conference yesterday, at the end of which you said, I'm not going to get into all the details of it. I just want to assure the people of Iowa that I know what I'm doing.
Right.
Have we moved on from there?
Well, first of all, let me say, we were on earlier, and I think you talked to me about the need to fulfill the commitment we made to straighten out the financial mess we inherited, and that's what I've done with the cooperation of Republican-controlled House and the Republicans in the Senate. It's taken the Senate Democrats a long time to figure out we were dead serious about having a budget that conforms to honest budgeting principles, that spends less than we take in, that doesn't transfer money from one account to another, and something that is sustainable, that it's a multi-year budget and is sustainable for the long term. And we're still working on the details of that. You may know the Senate's back in session, passing appropriation bills that are not acceptable to the House, but those are going to conference committee. This is where the differences can be worked out. So there's still adequate time to complete the work on the biennial budget before the end of this fiscal year, which is the next Thursday, a week from Thursday, actually. The 30th of June, and I'm working with them to get this accomplished. And in the event they fail to get the work done on time, I do have emergency powers, and that's why I've assured people that we will act judiciously to provide services to the people as best we can under the circumstances. Okay.
Now we understand, and frankly I agree with you that what's going on right now is what I like to call a game of political chicken. And I have a great optimism that at the very last minute they're going to get a deal done and put it on your desk for you to sign. I really do. I really believe that.
And I think you're right. I think, and it's always happened in Iowa. The federal government went a whole year without a budget in 2009. I believe that in Iowa we can resolve these things, and we have historically been able to do so. But we want to do it in a way that gives us follows good budgeting principles and make sure that we have a sustainable budget.
You see, I mean, I actually agree with that, but even if I didn't agree with that, I would still be in favor of you saying it because you ran on it. And I'm very much somebody that wants to hold politicians to account. You say something in the campaign, follow it through. Otherwise, when you and I met privately, I said, that's the only time we're going to have a problem, you and I, in terms of me holding your feet to the flames.
I think you'll find with me what you see is what you get. And what I say I'm going to do, and I work very hard for what I believe in. That's why I went to 43 communities all across the state to get that message across. We got a great response from the people of Iowa. They said, you're doing the right thing. We need to have a sustainable budget, and we recognize we've got to make some tough decisions. It's austere, but we don't want to be like the federal government. We want our state moving in a direction that's going to help us create jobs and grow the economy, and that's what I'm working on.
Absolutely, and I applaud you for that, genuinely. I really do. And I never endorse politicians, ever. But I applaud you for that. I really do.
Thank you.
The problem I've got is the what-if question. And what you're kind of asking us to believe is that there is a plan, and it's in your head. That's what you're kind of asking us to believe right now.
I think what we're saying is, if you look at what we've done in times of emergency, and I guess what we're saying is, I'm not anticipating there's going to be an emergency, but I'm prepared to deal with it if it occurs. The emergency would occur is if we end up without a budget come July 1.
Yes.
And if that happens, I then have powers granted by the Constitution and the statutes to provide services to the people of Iowa. It's called performance of duty as the chief executive, and that means we keep the prisoners behind bars, we patrol the highways, we provide the services to the people of Iowa. We do it on a temporary basis under performance of duty until the legislature has completed its work on the budget.
Okay, well that's great, because that's actually further than you've gone so far. So that's good. So now we know what it is. It's performance of duties, and I'm assuming because I was going to ask you, frankly, if it's all in your head, what do we do if something happens to you?
No.
Have you
then
shared
the
this with the
governor.
lieutenant
If something
governor?
happens to me, the lieutenant governor takes over.
Exactly, but I just
have
want to know
full
if
confidence
you shared
in her too.
I just want to know if you shared your plan with the lieutenant governor.
Oh no, we're aware of the responsibilities we have. We take it very seriously. I've been over in western Iowa. Of course, we've been working under emergency powers there, dealing with the flooding. Right now, we're working to try to reinforce the levee in Council Bluffs. They've already built a new levee to try to protect the community of Hamburg, and of course, they've increased the water release up there at the Gavin's Point in South Dakota. So this is going to be a long siege in terms of the whole flood situation along the Missouri River.
Absolutely. Our thoughts and prayers are with all of those people that are affected by that flooding, and we've said that before, and I understand that completely, but we're talking about the entire state budget right now, and that's really why I wanted you to come in today. Is Iowa run the way a large corporation is run? Large corporations, they have these kind of risk management plans. They're all drawn up. They're all written. Everybody knows what's going to happen if the building collapses. Everyone knows where they're supposed to go, how they're going to get back online, how the phones are going to work. It's all written down. Have we got anything like that in Iowa?
Oh, yeah. We have all kinds of plans like that deals with emergencies and potential things that could happen.
And those are all in the public domain?
I believe so. For instance, we had the crash of Flight 232 up in Sioux City several years ago. They actually had even done an exercise planning for potential for a plane crash.
Okay.
And that was one of the best managed disasters ever. The National Guard and the community of Sioux City responded in a great way. In fact, it was so well done, they made a movie out of it. Charlton Heston played Captain Al Haynes, who was the captain of the plane that brought it in, and he did a phenomenal job of saving over 200 lives in that tragic plane, crippled airplane.
And I'm pleased you brought up a hero pilot, because in the last hour today we're going to be talking about a dirtbag pilot, but that's a whole other story and nothing whatsoever to do with Iowa. But I am glad you mentioned it, because not all pilots are bad. Okay, so we have these plans. We have written plans. You have the Powers Act that you just spoke about. How many non-essential workers do we have in Iowa? You see, I'm quite looking forward in a way to a shutdown. I've got to tell you, I'm a small government kind of guy.
Well, I understand.
And shutdowns always produce layoffs of what's termed non-essential workers. When they were threatening it at the federal government, they were talking about 1 million non-essential workers, which drove me crazy. How many of those have we got in Iowa?
Well, that's a tough question.
Okay.
We're in the process.
I didn't say it was going to be easy, Governor.
No. Well, first of all, and that's one of the reasons why I've said we're going to try to continue to provide services as uninterrupted as possible. We do know that we have more government than we can afford.
Yep.
And last year they offered early retirement. 2,000 people took them up on it. I put a hiring freeze in place when I became governor. We're continuing to reduce the size of government. We're trying to find more efficient ways to deliver services, but we also know that the state has certain responsibility, and it takes a certain number of people to do that. And so we want to do that in the most thoughtful way possible. And over the next year, we're going to spend a lot of time finding new and more efficient ways to manage government, using some of the lean practices that have been used in the private sector to take the waste and out of government and provide better ways to deliver.
Are you a
services.
Lean Six Sigma guy?
Yes.
Yes, you are. Have you signed that particular pledge?
No, but I'm committed to it.
Are you open
Mary
to sign that pledge?
Well, Mary Andrenga, who was the chair of my campaign from Vermeer Manufacturing, she's a really big believer in this, and I have seen what they've done at Vermeer and what a difference it's made. I understand, they had a seminar over the weekend. My former law partner, Rich Schwarm, was involved in helping organize that.
I was there.
They brought people in that had done it not only in the private sector but in the military. I think that we can do that in state government. I'm committed to doing that. This was a program, actually, that Governor Vilsack started. It was pretty much discontinued under Governor Culver. We want to reinstate it. We think it makes a lot of sense.
Well, maybe I can get Dave Funk to sit down with you, Governor, because he's the Iowa co-chair of Lean Six Sigma. So,
well, I have a lot of respect for Dave Funk. I think he's a great guy, and I'm in concurrence with what he wants to do.
All right. Well, I'll see if I can arrange that appointment for you. Let me bring on a caller. We've got Lance in Des Moines that wants to talk to you. Hi, Lance. You're on the Simon Conway Show with the Governor.
Hi, Simon. Hello, Governor.
Thank you.
You were talking about the flag, Simon, and
yes.
It brought to mind the. I just wonder, when did governors get the authority to say when the United States flag should fly at half-staff? Because it seems confusing now. I go from state to state, and, one flag's here down and flags in another state are up, or vice versa. And it seems like it would make more sense to just do that with the flag of Iowa. So I guess
let me explain
and why.
Okay, Lance.
Well, I think I think it's a very good question. Right now, of course, we have a lot of Iowa National Guard that are deployed overseas, and so if we have a death of one of our soldiers, it is our tradition to require the flags to be lowered to half-staff on the day of the memorial service or funeral. And we did that yesterday for a serviceman that died in World War II.
Yep.
But his remains were brought back to Iowa, and we thought it was just the appropriate thing to show our respect for them. Now, we're doing that specifically for Iowa soldiers, and that's why the governor, who is the chief, is the commander-in-chief of the Iowa National Guard, actually kind of does that. And I try to go personally to the memorial service or the funeral for the Iowa soldiers as well, whether they're in the National Guard or active military.
Okay, well, I think that answers the question, Lance. So I'm gonna let you go there. I don't think there's anything. I don't think he was suggesting that you don't have the power to do that.
No, it is the American flag, but it is these people are dying in service of the country,
That's
of
right.
the United States. Even though they might be in the National Guard, they have a dual duty, both to the state and to the country. And when they're killed in active duty for our country, I think it's appropriate to lower the flag in respect to them and their service and their sacrifice.
Let's and I don't want to kind of move. It's always hard to move on when we're talking about members of the military, but I do need to move on because my time is pressing. Have you given up hope of getting the property tax thing done?
No, I haven't. I'm very strongly committed, and I think the timing is right to do that this year. It's been talked about forever. We have an extremely uncompetitive property tax system, and frankly, if the legislature fails to act, not only the commercial property tax stays in an uncompetitive situation, but we'll see a massive increase in residential and agriculture property taxes over the next several years as well. I want to see us prevent that. The House has acted on that. We're working to try to get the Senate to pass similar language that would reduce that and protect all taxpayers by limiting the growth in all classes of property.
All right, let's go back to the phones real quick. I think we're going to talk to Jim. Let's do that. Jim, you're on the Simon Conway Show with the Governor. Hey, Jim. Jim, you're on the Simon Conway Show with the Governor.
Okay. My son's serving in the Navy. If he was to pass away, would the flag be lowered?
It would.
Okay,
yes, we would do it for all.
National Guard.
We do it for all branches of service, those regular military, as well as those that are serving in the National Guard. So we would do that for the Navy. I would also point out I signed a law this year that says that anybody that is deployed on active duty, whether it's regular service or National Guard, outside the state of Iowa, doesn't have to pay state income tax anymore.
There you go, Jim.
Okay.
And thank your son for his service, will you?
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Governor, before I let you go, I just want to read you a text that we've had come in on the American Toppers and Accessories text line at 989-1040 from Mike in Pleasant Hill. Thank you, Governor Terry Branstad, for sticking to your guns on the budget. Dems want a shutdown to point fingers at Republicans. Not afraid of a shutdown here. So there you go. So there you go, Governor. I think people are indeed behind you because I do believe that you stuck to your guns because you ran on this.
That's right. I feel when you make a commitment to the people, I came back because I knew the state's financial house was in a big mess, and we needed to restore honest budgeting. We need to make sure that we have a budget that spends less than we take in every year, that we're not transferring money from one account to another and misleading people as to the level of spending, and we've done that. I would also compliment the Republican-controlled House of Representatives that have worked with me, and I think hopefully in these closing days we're going to be able to get bipartisan support to finish the job.
Okay, well, the only thing I was concerned about was that you were running around with this plan for a shutdown in your head. You have told us it's not running around in your head. There are some written plans which are in the public domain, and you gave us a very specific Powers Act that you have. Could you just repeat that again?
Well,
because I had an email
under
that
performance of duty, in times of emergency, the governor has authority, and we've used this many times. We used it during the flood of '93. And we've used it now during the disaster that's going on in western Iowa. And the Executive Council actually also approves the funding, and then it's overseen by the Executive Council. Obviously, the governor is the chief executive.
Sure.
But we do have a responsibility to protect the safety and well-being of the citizens of Iowa in all cases, even including an emergency, whether it's caused by nature or man-made.
There you go. Governor Terry Branstad, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sure we will have you back again. 284-1040, 800-469-4295 if you want to comment on what the governor had to say today. This is the Simon Conway Show on News Radio 1040 WHO.